So greetings and blessings, gracious one, and the rest of y'all too. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Sam gave me that intro, and I would just like to welcome you. In the name of the ancestors upon whose shoulders I stand, and I welcome you in the name of all that is holy and sacred to you. Welcome. It is indeed a pleasure to be here this morning, this beautiful morning in this virtual space via Zoom. As Sam mentioned, I'm currently serving as the minister at Bayside, California, Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. So I want to give thanks to the Reverend Christine for the invitation and for all of you all welcome me back here. So now let us read our UUCP covenant together, if you would please. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, and quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek freedom, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength in fellowship. Thus do we covenant. Let us do our chalice lighting. I hope y'all can see this one. I'm gonna light this chalice. So with the rekindling of this flame, let us honor our gifts. Those gifts are the gifts of grace and gratitude. And let us use those gifts to bless the world in a spirit of love. So I'm coming to you live from the California County of Humboldt in our times of tumult, in our time of pandemic, which I shall address a little later. So let me share the words, the welcoming words of the UU congregation of Dublin, Ireland. And they say, and I quote, "We do not ask what you believe or expect you to think the way we do, but only that you try and live a kind and helpful life with the dignity proper to that of a human being." So welcome all who do believe that religion is wider than any sect and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who might find in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living. End of quote. So today's message is entitled Wisdom in Today's World. Jonathan Jenna teases us and reminds us that true wisdom comes in understanding that sometimes you are both the prison and the key, that we may be our own prisons and yes, possess our own key. And when I hear that word key, it reminds me of that key to the universe slogan and phrase I've heard, but I'm here to remind us just to, what if, and this is what I believe, that the universe has no key, has been left, in fact, unlocked, and that wisdom is ours for the taking and for the making. So when the topic of wisdom comes up, the usual images conjure up. I would think, the PhDs, the diplomas on the walls, wrinkles in the older person's face. So we get the message that wisdom is about accumulation. If you want to be wise, you need to pile stuff on, more knowledge, more learning more books to read, more gurus to follow, more degrees to get. But there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. What have others said about that? Martin Fisher reminds us that knowledge is a process of piling up facts. Wisdom lies in their simplification. Literary master Lin Yutang says, quote, besides the noble act of getting things done, there is also the noble act of leaving things undone. The wisdom of life consists in the elimination of non-essentials. So let this be a reminder that the math of wisdom is often the opposite of what we may be thinking. Maybe it's more a game of subtraction than addition. Often accumulation of knowledge does not get us closer to wisdom. Sometimes it's just in the way. There's a sort of simplifying that needs to happen. Dare I say, a stripping away that needs to occur. It's about knowing and unknowing. Think about how deeply we get tangled with that. The cultural wise messages about money and success or degrees and the SAT and IQ tests. We get status and truth mixed up, or the way political parties, science, and yes, religion say claim to have all the answers. Maybe this is why old Sufi poet friend of mine, Hafez, wrote, quote, the beloved sometime wants to grab us, to do us a big favor, hold us upside down and shake us till all the nonsense is out. So, again, with all of our wants, as Hafez says, that the beloved has shaken all the nonsense out of us. So with all the nonsense shaken and stripped away, maybe what we notice most is not so much the pearls of wisdom, but the sources of wisdom that we may have forgotten. You see, when reason and logic hog the spotlight, the wisdom of the body rarely enters the room. When week-long retreats with the newest guru define the path of wisdom, we stop asking what our failures and mistakes have to teach us. When experts sit in the center, the wisdom of those on the margins is lost. When experts are put in the center, the wisdom of those on the margins is lost. So many untapped sources of wisdom waiting to be known. Makes one think that just maybe the wisest question that we may ask ourselves is, close your eyes for a moment. Just a moment. We'll be right back. Just close them. Think of this question. Where have I not looked before? Where have I not looked before? Okay. One answer in one place that I offer, that I believe may be a key for your consideration and reflection. As a matter of fact, I wrote a poem about it. I'll dedicate this to Malidoma Somé. It's entitled Ancestor Logic. Ancestor logic is not logical. Ancestor logic is not biological. Ancestor logic is not psychological. In fact, ancestor logic is not logical at all. Not at all, man. Ancestor logic, you see, is not concerned about the person, neither the son of Per or the daughter of Her. Ancestor logic is before the self takes that ego, puts it on the shelf. It brings you here from kingdoms come. You see, ancestor logic is where we all come from. As in, it may have started with the sway of a hip or the wink of an eye, the magic of a smile, or maybe the sound of a simple sigh. Attraction, then acceptance, a hug, a kiss, a natural body click. 9 months later, you get a belly kick. Ancestor logic is not logical. What's logical about the sway of a hip or the wink of an eye? The magic of a smile or the sound of a sigh. Attraction, acceptance, a hug, a kiss, and a natural body click. Then 9 months later, you got a belly kick. You see, ancestor logic, 'tis the knowledge antiseptic. That's ancestor logic. Ancestor logic is pre-logical. That's ancestor logic. You see, the beginning in life is a hip sway or smile. Nothing can stop it. True life is non-toxic. True life is ancestor logic. Blessed be. So wisdom is a gift. We pass it on to each other like a precious jewel. None of us wants to make the same mistake, so we generously share our advice. In other words, wisdom also connects us. It's not just something we collect to uplift ourselves. It's something we pass on so we can make it through together. Or to put it another way, wisdom and kindness are more closely linked than we may think or acknowledge. Speaking of acknowledgement, when was the last time you were wise enough to use what I call the 3 most powerful words in the English language? And they are, I don't know. Sandra Carey reminds us, quote, never mistake knowledge for wisdom. Never mistake knowledge for wisdom. Knowledge will help you make a living. Wisdom will help you make a life. And I met some wise people in my life, few of them. One comes to mind, Ma Grace. Ma Grace. Ma Grace was 107 years young when I met her, having graduated from high school at the spry age of 92. I see her now with her beanie cap on and her pink dress with her white apron, her hand in her inside of that apron where she also carried her little derringer, where she would say, yeah, these young fools walk up on me, they got another thing coming. Bless her soul. But she reminds me he's never too old to do anything. Very wise words. Speaking of wisdom, let me digress for a second and check on all the wisdom that's sitting out there at home right now, thousands of years, when you add y'all all up on this call in this moment. So I want to quote this famous person. Tell me if he registers in your head. Quote goes like this. I want to paraphrase it a little bit, but here it is. Quote, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all people, though he says men, doubt you Make allowance for their doubting too. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which more? You'll be a man, my son. And being wise these days, yes, or my daughter, or my any gendered person of any order. So Ma Grace summed up Mr. Kipling that if you can keep your head in what's about you, regardless of what's happening around, what other people are doing or saying or acting or distracting, regardless of what is happening, if you can maintain that, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. Now, Ma Grace put this in her Black Mississippi way. She summed up Kipling simply by saying, she looked at me and I hear it, hey boy, no matter what's happening out there in the world, and no matter what nobody say about you, there's only one thing you gotta do. Just remember, I'm gonna ask you to join me. If you could just extend your right hand there like that and just hold it for a minute. Ma Grace say, no matter what's happening, always remember to keep your brain pan level. That's all you gotta do. No matter what's happening, keep your brain pan level. Yes, indeed. Now, one of my favorite shamans, quote, said this: the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. End of quote. Say it again. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. End of quote. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. That shaman's name? Albert Einstein. Yeah, I call them shamans because in my culture we have another name for them, though we are more comfortable with the term quantum physicists. Jimmy said that knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. Jimi Hendrix also said, and Dylan wrote, there are many here among us who feel that life is but a joke. But you and I, we've been through this, and this is not our fate. So let us stop talking falsely now. The hour is getting late. Emo Phillips said, yeah, I used to think that the brain was the most powerful organ in my body. Then I realized who was telling me that. Confucius said, there are three methods by which we learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is the noblest. Second, by imitation. That is the easiest. And third, by experience, which he says is the bitterest. End of quote. So how about a UU minister and wise man, one William Ellery Channing? He says, and I quote, there are seasons in human affairs, inward and outward revolution. This is when new depths seem to be broken up in the soul. Kind of sound familiar? When new wants when new wants are unfolded in multitudes and a new and undefined good is thirsted for. Oh, that so sounds like now for me. Say that again. A new and undefined good is thirsted for. There are periods when to dare is the highest wisdom. So bear with me and join me here. Let's touch that heart together, if you would. Wherever you are, touch that heart. So I believe that the best teachers are those who teach about the heart. The wisest teachers are those who show us our heart. How to use your heart. How to be your heart. Blessed be. Amen. Ashe.